One of our frequent guests right here on Top Story is mentioned. We may actually hear from him next Wednesday morning, 1 week from today, but he's mentioned in a national publication today. His name is Representative Raul Labrador. He represents, of course, much of northern Idaho and, well, down into the Boise area as well. We do not get blessed by his, some people listening to us today could be living in areas where he does represent them. When I open the telephones to talk about this issue usually I hear people saying, I wish he represented us in southern Idaho and eastern Idaho. And we're not trying to disparage the person who already does, but Congressman Labrador has a much better reputation, at least with this listening audience, than, let's say, some of our more traditional Republicans. But he's mentioned in the Daily Signal today. In fact, Daily Signal, a publication of the Heritage Foundation, which is looking to establish more constitutional, at least restore some ties to the Constitution in this country, and also downsize government and end some of government's what you might call onerous regulations. He is often mentioned in the publications there because he is seen as an ally to many of those causes. After 300 days, this is the headline. After 300 days, bill to protect religious liberty nationally remains in committee. Well, what are they talking about? After all, and Jason Chaffetz from Utah is also mentioned in this as well, the former kicker for the BYU football team. After almost a year, a bill designed to safeguard religious liberty has gained significant support, but little momentum in the House of Representatives. It is interesting. We should note this too. Both Chaffetz and Raul Labrador standing up for religious liberty, one from Idaho, one from Utah. And perhaps it's because I was visiting a Mormon church in Seaford, Delaware, where my neighbors were having their 7-year-old baptized. And I was standing in the hall talking to some of the other folks who were gathering that day for the baptism. And I read the points, the principles on the wall of the church. And I turned around and I said, well, it's like reading the Bill of Rights. This is truly the most American of all Christian churches. And they nodded their head in agreement and said that that's probably a fairly good assessment. So what you have is a couple of Mormon legislators who are working to ensure that government does not crush the religious in this country. Because perhaps they understand, maybe more than other people, how valuable this is, that First Amendment protection given by God to exercise your faith without being interfered with by a big government, without being mauled by the regulators or the courts. So the writer says, after almost a year, a bill designed to safeguard religious liberty has gained significant support but little momentum in the House of Representatives. With 164 co-sponsors, now that's a decent-sized number, the First Amendment Defense Act is a popular piece of legislation in Congress. Still, that popularity, the writer says, has not provided the elevation needed for the bill to advance out of committee, let alone into law. Well, we'll get to why this is going to be important in just a moment. Pointing out that, quote, states are making religious freedom a priority, unquote, Representative Raul Labrador, the Idaho Republican who sponsored the bill, is ready for a vote. Quote, the First Amendment Defense Act deserves a vote on the House floor, unquote, he wrote in a statement to the Daily Signal. And he went on to say this, quote, the time has come for Congress to act at the federal level. My bill ensures there is respect for all views of marriage in our free society, unquote. Opponents argue that the legislation creates opportunities for state-sanctioned discrimination. Once again, your Bible is apparently so offensive to them, and your personal beliefs so offensive, that if you do not go over and participate on the honeymoon night, you are then being called a racist or bigot and discriminatory. Soon after the bill was introduced, in fact, Sarah Warbelow of Human Rights Campaign, that Orwellian name they give to these organizations, Human Rights Campaign, no, it is the Men Who Like to Wear Dresses campaign. Can we be clear about this? Described it as part of an extreme agenda designed to harm LGBT families under the guise of religious freedom. If I had heard the phrase LGBT when I was a kid growing up, I would have thought it had something to do with a sandwich, bacon, lettuce, and tomato that we could get at the local diner down on Main Street. Today, of course, all of these acronyms have something entirely different, and it means, we're 1% of the population or less. We demand that you come over and climb into the sack with us, which is really what this ultimately is all about. I have a great many friends. I'm not disparaging them. I have a great many friends who describe themselves by that word gay. I don't have anything against them. I think they're good people. They go to work. They pay their taxes. And you know what? They don't bother anyone else. They don't bother anyone else. I have a friend who used to be a man, is now a woman, but is one of the best known in my former home state of Delaware, the best known leaders in the libertarian and conservative movements, and doesn't go around bothering anybody saying, I need special treatment. So you've got, and they all may make up only a couple percentage points of the population, but the people who are running around screaming and marching in the streets and saying, I'm special, treat me that way, they're a fraction of that 2%. And yet the whole country is being turned on its side because of what these people are demanding. North Carolina governor, now we've had a number of states, as Congressman Labrador said, the reason this bill hasn't moved forward, even with a large number of sponsors, is because the states are working on these issues on their own. So you've got a lot of members in Congress who are wetting an index finger, sticking it into the air and seeing which way the wind is blowing, and they're saying, aha, well, this is a state issue, and the states are working on it right now. So every time they go to a town hall and someone says, what are you doing about this? Hemina becomes replaced by, well, the states are working on it. We'll allow them to do it. So it's a free pass. It allows your congressman, not Raul Labrador, by the way, but allows in many other parts of the country, your congressman or woman to allow themselves to get off the hook. But this will not last much longer. Daily Caller reports this. North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory signs an executive order Tuesday to alter the state's LGBT discrimination rules after two businesses announced they were no longer going to put money in jobs in the state. The law is a win for LGBT advocates, but it doesn't touch the part of the recently passed religious freedom law that requires people to use the bathroom of the gender of their birth certificate. So businesses came in and said, we're going to take our business away and put it in Saudi Arabia, by God, where they throw the local homosexuals off the tops of minarets. Because you people down there in North Carolina are just mean, when you will not allow some grubby 35-year-old man in a dress to share a bathroom with somebody else's 3-year-old daughter. How dare you? So the governor, showing his courage in North Carolina, basically raised the white flag.
I will immediately seek legislation in the upcoming short session to reinstate the right to sue for discrimination in North Carolina state courts. Simply put, I have listened to the people of North Carolina, and the people of North Carolina are entitled to both privacy and equality. We can and we must achieve both of these goals. Now, I know these actions will not totally satisfy everyone, but the vast majority of our citizens want common sense solutions to complex issues. This is the North Carolina way.
In other words, I have the spine of a jellyfish, and because somebody threatened to take PayPal or some other company somewhere else to go over to the Middle East, by gum, I'm going to ensure that we take all the teeth out of this bill. And thank you very much. And I've been made aware by the big money. I think I just lost my last caller, but we'll take this one. You're up next. You're on the air with Bill Colley on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com.
Good morning, Bill. You know, it's just like the Democrats. They keep changing names. You said they call themselves gay. You know, that used to be a happy word. Now it's LGBT, whatever that means. What's it going to be next? Yeah, they're homosexuals. Come on.
And even and thank you for the call. Even the columnist at the New York Times now says we should not use the term homosexual. We should ban it because it could hurt somebody's feelings. It's a scientific term, for crying out loud. What? In other words, use the term that we in the media have prescribed you use so we can change the meaning of it. You're up next. You're on the air on KLIX.
I don't understand what a common sense solution is, evidently, because common sense to me says if you've got certain parts that you're born with, that deems you are a certain thing. So if you go and get them surgically altered, fine. You got them surgically altered, but you were born a certain way. You're not able to reproduce of that gender of your choice. If you go become a man, you're not going to produce sperm. If you're born a man and you become a woman, you're not going to produce eggs. You're not that gender, no matter how many surgeries you get. So common sense says that's what you are.
I think
How How is that not common sense?
Yeah, you go stand in front of a mirror. You'll figure it out very fast. I thank you for the telephone call. 736-0300, 736-0300. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. I think I'm a bus. So now I want my employer to build a great big garage outside so when I leave work, I can go sleep there at night. And when I need to have my oil changed, I can just open up a hole in the floor and, just let it drain there. I'll have to have a little surgery done so they can put an oil pan in and do all of those things and remove my other plumbing. But, I'm a bus. And I'm a big yellow bus. That's what I've always identified as. And so from here on out, I want to be known as the big yellow bus. And I will take your children to school. And I'm sure you'll all be comfortable with that. Even if you aren't, we'll deny your objections and say that you're a racist bigot and that you don't like yellow buses. And therefore, but no, I'm not a man, I'm a bus, and I want all of your children to ride on my back to school every day. It might be quite enjoyable, actually, if they sit and kind of spin around a little bit. And you cannot object to that because you would hurt my feelings otherwise. 918, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Caller, you're next. You're on the air.
Well, the part I don't understand, and this has been going on a long time with this political correctness over everything we've ever had from pregnancy protection and everything else. Anytime someone says, no, I don't think you should do it the way you want to do it, they stand up and yell, saying they're stopping us from doing it. Again, like I called in yesterday, is there anybody outside the door saying, no, you can't go into a bathroom of your gender? No, I'm going to stand in front of the condoms. You can't have one of those. No one's doing any of this, but yet they word it as if there is a Gestapo people standing there with assault rifles not allowing someone in. And they need to stop that. That is the opposite of political correctness. That's political bullshit. So it's just baloney. No one's stopping them from doing something. It's their own mind that's saying that.
Yeah, and I thank you. Thank you for the update. Here's the point of the matter is, if you choose to wear a dress and then you say that you can't go in the boys' room because they'll make fun of you for standing there at the urinal while you wear a dress, that's not my problem. You chose to put on the dress. Now, if you still want to identify a woman as a woman, a lot of women walk around in blue jeans and regular shirts. You could do that just as well. But that's your choice to put on the dress now, isn't it? And then to say, well, when I went into the bathroom, all of the other boys were mean and I couldn't go because of that. Well, your problems might be more deep-seated than that. Your self-concept is not my responsibility. Comprende? 45 right now. We've got a short break ahead. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Oh, got to tell you about a solar company going bankrupt and the media ignoring it.